and welcome to Against All Odds. This is where we talk about all events that happen in life, whether it be an accident, a robbery, or just a misfortune. We talk about it, we discuss it, and find out the reasons why it happens, where it happened, and how we got through it. My name is Kim Sabanda, and I'm your host for this show. And joined with me is Gorden Matanga. How are you doing, Gorden?
I'm fine, and how are you?
I'm all right. Let's just start from the beginning.
Yes.
Tell us, who is Gorden Matanga? Where did you grow up, and how did you get into your situation?
Okay. My name is Gorden Matanga, as you said. I'm now 44, and my birthday is actually on Wednesday. I'll be turning 45. I grew up in Harare. I was born on the 18th of June, 1980 at Edith Hospital in Mbare, Harare. I could say my childhood, mostly I grew up in Harare, where my mom worked as a housemaid in the leafy suburbs of Harare. My story is about my early childhood. I grew up in a broken down family, marked by quite a lot of violence. That was through my father, who was also he was a drunkard by then, and then there was much violence I suffered from my father, and this violence escalated as well to my mom as well and my young brother. So as time went by, my parents later on divorced. And when they divorced, I was left with my mom and my young brother. My mom, it was difficult. It was a difficult time for my mom. She was just a housemaid and raising two kids by herself, going to work. And at the workplace, there was no staff house, so she had to rent a place. Sometimes she would leave us there at the place and go to work. And it was quite tough for her. She had to come back at lunchtime and just to see how we are and all that. So my mother's employers, so they were whites by then, and they saw this as a very difficult and tough situation for my mom. They later on approached the social welfare, and then were later taken by the social welfare and admitted at a certain children's home in Harare. So by that time, when my brother and I were taken there, arriving there were also quite a lot of kids and from different races as well there, and I found it quite difficult to gel in, because somehow I asked myself why actually am I at a home? Was both my parents, they're alive? And I saw it as that were sort of somehow abandoned by my mom there, and I was really quite frustrated as a grade 1 pupil. By that time I was doing grade 1. So at the home there, I was a loner. I was more of a loner. I suffered from depression. I wasn't quite happy, and I wasn't really quite happy with my mom. I wasn't quite happy with my father. I was actually angry with everybody, and this also affected me even in my schoolwork. Yeah, you see. So by that time at the home there was also quite other older children than I and older girls than I, and sometimes I tried to vent my frustration maybe on bullying girls. You see, this affected me because I thought the girl and the woman and the mother, you see, you abandon. It really got me. I suffered psychologically, really, and this really affected me. So later on, after during my grade 7, when I had done my grade 7, I was moved to a senior boys' home in Harare as well, a different location. At the senior boys' house by then, I was now attending. I was attending school now at Prince Edward High, and by that time I was now living in a senior boys' home where the older boys than I, and at school there were also older boys, and this is a time where, as I said before, I constantly suffered depression, sometimes anxiety now as I was living with senior boys there, and it's a time where also I took choices, you see. At the senior boys' school, that's PA, though they were sort of like gangsters by that time, and I decided to join a gang. There were coloreds, there were Indians, there were whites, there were blacks. You see, yeah, it's a time I chose also a gang to join, and It's a time where I as a boy by that time, and I wanted something, some sort of action where I can vent my frustration on someone. So by joining gangs, it was also a choice. And by that time, there was also availability, I would say, even after school, not at school, after school, sneak out those boys out to purchase alcohol, cigarettes. I was introduced to cigarettes, and the first one was a menthol taste, and I liked it by then. And I thought this also could come some of the inner voices in my mind, the inner voices in my mind. So I thought maybe through smoking, drinking alcohol, I could quiet things down. I could calm myself.
What were those inner voices saying?
Okay, the inner voices mostly, you see, there's a time inner voice I would see even visions where my mom would be suffering, even I getting beaten by my father by that time when I was young. And then I would see like all of them saying, no, they don't want to stay with me any longer. I'm now staying at her home, you see. And actually this breakdown of the family union really affected me greatly. And I thought but once you're at home, my mom wasn't really allowed to come and like visit, take us home or she would just visit maybe for a few minutes and that was it. She was not even allowed to take us even to a place, even to a house, even anyway, you see. There were conditions and she couldn't meet those conditions because of her status, you see. And this really got me, angered me. So that I was blaming. I gave the blame to her. In the first place, why did you accept? Why? You see? And to my father, I was even angry to my own father that you are also the one who caused this. You see, had you been there, you see. So that was like I was suffering mentally. You see. So I tried to down myself and down these thoughts by maybe drinking and smoking. I started off. I could say ndakatanga nembanje. Ndo dzandakatanga nadzo. I was was ndo dzakadziripo and it was ready available panguva iyoyo. Saka I started off with smoking mbanje and ndanda form 2 by then. And now ndichitora mbanje, alcohol, cigarettes, munotanga, ndiri mwana wechikoro, I'm just school people, and my drugs are they also need to, in order to sustain the habit, tindirambe ndichitora zvinoda mari apa ndiri mwana wechikoro. So you start off by selling madays acho tanga tine mawalkman nezvimagame boy, zvimagames and masneaker, mateki. You'd start selling off, unombotanga kutengesa mateki ako, and then later on you'd sell your Game Boy or your Walkman wotengesa. Not acquire foot, because the first time when pandakapia neshamari zangu, I was given for free, no pia mahara. Notanga pia mahara. Once zwapinda muropa manje, wakuzvida. Next time muropa chitamba chwa nesa, ndipe cheno unozvitengera wega. You see, that's how it was. Saka pakunozvitengera wega, ndiri mwana wechikoro, zvinoda mari, apa ndishandi, ndiri mwana wechikoro. Saka you end up kutanga kutengesa zvinhu zvako zvemumba, zveipandika, zvako iwewe. Once that finishes, you end up stealing. The next dormitory, I'm stealing my friends, my neighbors, in order to sustain.
I want to get to the point where what was the source? Muchinotenga my friends ako. Where was the source, or has it always been the same from then and now? Where is the source where people get drugs? Are they the guys by the road? How do you get to know these drug lords?
Okay. You see, so the source is the people who sell dzimangwa vanotengesera liquor, alcohol, and to what can I say? Vanotengesa doro. Andika kuna masha beans, kuna mama ladies ne vamwe vanotengesa ne varume vanotengesa masha beans. Saka pakutengesa doro futi he sells chi. Vanotengesa futi the drugs. But there's one thing I've noticed mazwano. People even selling drinks, sweets, lollipops, are also now lacing them. Nekutengesa futi my drugs as well. Well, in that time, zangarwe masha beans, the weird people in the corners vaitengesa futi kana mdzimba specifically zoti pambapa panetengeswa my drugs unonotenga ipapo. That's where I got them.
So all this happened until you got addicted.
Yes.
And then so your story changes. Tell us where you pivoted from not just being a drug addict, but for you to actually move from being a drug addict and also suffering from mental health. You're feeling anxious, you're feeling neglected.
Yes.
What that recipe, that concoction, what did it do to you?
Well, that concoction, kusanganisa zvese, mental depression, mental psychological depression, anxiety, zvakandikonzeresa kuti ndiwe munhu I could say kuti ndiwe kuda kutsvaga some sort of revenge kwandiri nini kuti namama, but I couldn't get that, you see. Saka dzimwe nguva you'd join gangs kuti ndipate nandinenge ma-frustrations, you'd want to vent your frustrations pamunenda muri magangs pamunombonorwa muchita musikanzwa, you want to actually do something, feel something, bang something, hit something, handika you've got things zviri mauri, you see. Saka I grew up to be a wild person manje nazvo, you see. I became more wild, handizvere I became more adventurous, handika so curious to kuti no regai nditsvage zvimwe zvekuita, but zvimwe zvandaitsvaga zvekuita zvanga zvakaipa, it was bad, you see. Zvekulida kuti ndaenda kupinda into crime, handika ambition ndichipinda into crime, handika but still pese pandaitora when I took those drugs, still ndaidhakwa nhasi ndikamuka ndiri sober mangwana, still kadepression karipo, that situation yonenga iripo, it does not vanish. Saka unoramba uchida until ndakupenda kutorawo mahada drugs, pataenda kuma night club, kwakune mabashment party, kuma night club zvanga zviripo futi in that time, but ikoko ndanda kusanganiswa harder drugs, like kune mutoriro neguka, they were just like that. Kwakuna na man drugs nana angel dust ukaitora it was a dust like I think believe wana mutoriro, you would want to fly unoona kukwira kana pamusoro pemba 2 times nichidzikiswa pamusoro pemba ndichida kubhuruka, you see.
Hey, 2 times vachida kubhuruka vachidzikiswa pamusoro pemba. I am here with Gorden Matanga telling his story that came from a journey of doing drugs, but then it got worse. We'll be back right after the break. Welcome back to Against All Odds, where we are talking about issues that matter the most. Is it drugs? Is it a misfortune? Whatever it is, it's right here on Against All Odds. My name is Kim Sabanda, and I'm still here with Gorden Matanga and his touching story. So Gorden, you were telling us you wanted to fly off these roofs. The depression would come back and you would want to fly again. So we've come from the drug addiction. Where did it lead us to?
Okay. This drug addiction, it led me into crime. Crime eventually, the wicked one, the nature of crime, even when I speak of it, it was the crime of murder. Ndabva kuchikoro ndapedza, I finished school from 4, and the home said, you achakuda pano chienda kumaparents ako unogara. I went back to stay with my mom. Panguva iyoyo my mom said, no, pano you have to find a job and work. Handabva kuchikoro chishanda. With this addiction, I couldn't hold a steady job. I would get into a job, maybe come late, maybe sometimes I would backchat the boss, and ndodzingwa pane rimwe basa ndowana rimwe futi. With this kind of attitude and behavior nandinayo, I couldn't hold a steady job. Saka my friends angu futi aya, you see, and would connect to say go to my bashment izozo. The suffering, you see, was still there in Mukati Mandiri. I still suffered. You see, I had not healed. Saka still, I continued my drugs, this but crime manch led my drugs lead kuti nditsvage ndizopara mhosva yekuti nanhasi ndichiitaura inorwadza. It was the mhosva yemurder yandakapara pabasa pandandichishanda ndanetsana nemurongo uyu wandaishandira paswimming pool, and she was just asking about the pool, though I backchatted her, and yes, I was intoxicated. Yeah, nema drugs.
So it was a situation where she was confronting you, achikuvhunza zvaivhunza pabasa rake iye. Saka chii chingave chakakonzeresa? What do you think chakaitika mumoment iyo chakakonzeresa kuti situation iyo itene kubva pakutsiura kusvika pakuuraya?
Pakuuraya ingangoti that hasha dzanga dziri mandiri dzekuti ndakabata murungu ndikamurwera muswimming pool akaandika, and she banged her head and suffered a concussion.
Was it in the pool or paside pe pool?
Paside pe pool.
Paside pe pool.
Pama steps pool paside. That's what happened. And tese tapina mvura namurera indazobuda iyaramba aripo, she's not coming out. And ininda buda, but tukona muna asko buda, I go back in the water, ndomudhonza ndomisa paside. Indu kuti muna achamuka tochitanganya yebozi I've attacked her violently, but muna asko muka arikuramba ari. Inoona muna arikubuda, she's now bleeding in the nose, you see. So there's a time yekuti kudhakwa kwese kunombopera temporarily wandika. Saka anxiety, fear kuti you see. And so zvinhu zvakawanda zvinomhanya mupfungwa by that time. We've got you see, ambulance, police, so ndomhanya in the main house. And then I call my friends, wanaimbopara nawo mhosva, guys, ndarwa nemurungu nanetsana ndamurera mpu adona namubudisamo, but ari kubleta, you see. And there's a time futi anga achipopota nyaya lawnmower, because there was a lawnmower in Tambo, yanga achipinda nemuswimming pool. You see, that was the other issue futi. She was right, Antika. And sapa nokola my friends. Saka ari kufema ari kuti say wacheka here, I go back I check. No, asi kufema, she's cold. Zanza ngati ndoita sei maprisa. Zanza maprisa the takutaura ijeri. You are going straight to jail. What would I mean? And then that fear, that anxiety, that panic, you see. Saka ndoita sei I'm down to go advice. But advice yandopia is very bad. Andika kunza dai watombowika but wotisa. Ndowika kupi. Way Antika notiza kupi, I've got no money. Tiza kunoda mari you need andizere. And by that time so many things are running around. In time irikufamba, this happened around 11 in the morning. Kusvika kuma 4 murungu akangorara pasaite pa. You see, and ndonomhanya unoramba umbonobatidza muzanga upema odi, but still, you know, if you've got a guilty conscience, you remember, and I'm trying to close that guilty conscience.
And at the time, no one was around. It was just you.
Tangatingori too.
Hey, so papi manje.
So, prior to that, Naganchipisa Marara and the part of the Panagumba, there was a hole there, and I was burning so many things, Marara, plastics, things, Siana, Satanchi Pisa. So, I intoxicate myself with cinema drugs. That's around my 5. Don't a body, I don't need some motor, pisa. Didn't hide the crime titties in the end. I drag the body there. I put logs, my tires, and then the body is burning. All right. And nodi, sakapane motor. Ndotora motor and I found I say the Agazeta second accused. Nampa motor yeah. I end. Nandataura na third accused, akaita third accused wacho pa case yangu. Second accused aenda ne mota kuna third accused. Ne passport ne bag dzimwe dzehembe dzemurungu aenda nadzo. Sandandeka ne body iri kutsva. Ma 4 5 6 kusvika musande. But I did not sleep that night. Aurare because you've got a guilty conscience. Ndapara mhosva. That day kundifondera maprisa it's even worse. Apa achatofoneke futi. Ufondera ambulance even worse. Andizvire. Ndiri 100 ndega. Andizvire. Saka uko urukuti no maybe my friends vachandibatsirawo nekamari ndoenda ndomhandika say but that's not coming, that's not happening. Tapina on Sunday. On that very day akafa murungu, she was meant to go have a meeting in town. The people and the friends she was meant to meet and have that meeting, she did not show up. They phone. Pane 5110 yakazoenda futi nevakomana my friends angu. Kaingorira I'd never those the first days pakatanga kuyama 5110 my cell phones I didn't even saka kaingorira chikakabata chikopressa kusvika kadzima kakazoenda nevakomana. This Sunday manch the lady who died that Saturday they'd separated nemurume, and when they'd separated the murumanga ugara somewhere else. They're not divorced officially, they just separated. Saka hama dzacho neshamwari started phoning the husband kuti iwe we are not murungu haasi kudaira aifana kuya kumeeting Saturday nanhasi ari kwenyu hereko. She's not here. Until Monday he comes, and when he comes neshamwari dzacho they come, she wondobvunza inini murungu akangotora mota nehembe dzake akabuda. Saka they start putting missing person posters both on the media, in the papers, outside was say missing person. Until mazuva awandise kusvika hama dziwandise dzawanda pamba paya kuzoti they suspect, they are curious, and then they approach the CID section yeKwara Central Homicide painouya inimbotitora inini amai vangu vakazodzoka yakatora naamai tikanombovharirwa Roadsville vachimboinvestika kuti watidzosa kuti no ava vashandiwa no maybe she's hidden kakakidnapwa kana kuti ari somewhere kana kuti akaita accident they phone hospitals kwese haasi kuwanikwa until they start. Homicides puts a reward voice reward in the media. Then a guy aiziva the third accused Farai, one of the friends of mine wataimbofamba naye, he sees the reward mbepa but akamboona this car, the vehicle handizvere. So if he phones the CID section, mota yamuri kutsvaga ndenge ndaona one guy wandoziva ane mota at the same iri kuidentify yamuri kutsvaga, though akanombotarisa mota yakaona maplates anga achinjwa, but the third plate yepa sill yaya vanga vasina kuichinja, but ndo yaakanoticewo foot and the same color and same make and type of the car, and he says bingo, that's it, ndo iri kutsvagwa. He calls the CID. The CID, they don't hesitate, they come, vakava vari in 3 convoys kwaari, and then he took them to Farai's house. That was the third accused. And when they took the third accused, he was not there, and paakazodzoka that night vanga vakamounta waiting for him. When he came, vamubata hanzi no, usati tabasa nemota, tine basa nemurungu, murungu ari kupinda, watiri kuda murungu, murungu, I know nothing nemunye murungu, ndakaigirwa mota na second accused guy, the second guy, a friend of ours. Sanzi ndiyakauya nemota kuno. Oh, all right. And ari kupi? Sanzi ari kwaZvimba. And ikoko they go kwaZvimba. That ferry that it was Thursday, I remember. Waenda kwaZvimba. Vachingosvika paZvimba pakutama, he's about to get into a car coming kuno kuHarare. They round off, vamuona, it was a coincidence. The third accused guns, uyo vanatiri kutsvaga toda kutokira left kuya kuHarare. They hit a U-turn, imwe mota inompika, yamupika iti tiri kumupa lift kuya kuno kuHarare. Iye afunga kuti akurapiwa lift. On the way futi dzaburiswa nemapurisa. Right, mwenye tamubata uko, mota taanayo, toda murungu, ari kupi? Murungu, tipandezvozva nemurungu. Ko mota ndakapiwa ne, I gave them the car. Ndo zvakataura kuti ndakapiwa na first accused, ndiye akanipa motikari. Okay, they go to Harare Central Police. That's how it was. Kubatwa kwaita ma first and the third and second accused. Vachishika kwanandiri the following day, it was Friday. Pandakaona mota ichipinda ina Farai, that's the third accused. Never yaro. Vandatoti chacha yama one. Ndakabva ndatya, vandapanika, vandamhanya. You know, sometimes when you kana uchitora dzimwe nguva uchitya uchipanika, especially paunotora madrugs, the last resort kana wapinda musituation is suicide. Ndo zvandakamhanya, vandanotora red poison, vandaisa muglass, vandamwa red poison ya. Ndikati I'll never get out of this. Vandamwa poison. Ndamwa poison, ndichibuda mumba, mapurisa achiuya ari 4, akapfeka masuti awo. Vachindibata zikanzi Gorden, chikotitaura chokwadi, vamwe kuti nawo mota taanayo, murungu ari kupi? I remember tichitaura chirungu chekuti I don't know if I ever get out of this. Ndakaenda around the back, ndikaenda nawo, ndikati handeino nokuratidzai. Ndichinowaratidza zvakaitika nepandakapisa moto. Chekutanga, they did not believe vaifunga ndiri kutamba. Vakazotarisana. Vakataurana vega, because mumba wangu wakazara, there were plenty of my relatives, varungu wangu wakazara mumba. Vakangotaura zikanzi, mira musawaudze izvozvi, mirai waudza. And then
there you have it, a story of a drug abuse turned into murder. Nyaya yacho ihombe. The story of Gorden Matanga, right here on Against All Odds. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the third and final segment where we're talking about the story of Gorden Matanga. Gorden, a story about mapurisa where you are standing accused, and now what? Okay,
Dabatwa, and then I was sentenced. I was taken to Dabatwa from hospital. Ndakazoyo pass statement yangu. I survived the poison, and I gave my statement to the police, and I was open now. And then I was taken to Magistrates Court where I was remanded in custody, remand, TC 333. This was in June 2000. And from that June 2000, ndakagara remand for a year. And ipapo ndakavanaenda ku trial for our case, the murder trial. And that lasted for 2 weeks. It was fast track. And on the third Friday, actually after I was found guilty, and judgment was done. Sentencing yakazoya the following Friday, where I was now taken for sentencing. I was sentenced to death since in Ndakauraya, and my 2 accused were given each 24 years each for the car theft and the accessories and magazi ya moto embava. That's how it was. But it was a time ekuti pandakasenderwa death. It was like I'm 21 years and I'm being sentenced to death. And you know, like the courtroom is spinning, and hey, and then I spent 11 years on death row, and then miraculously after I gave my life to Christ in Ripa death row, one day as my life sentence was commuted, my death row sentence was commuted to life after serving 11 years on death row. And this was a miracle because I had no lawyer, no money, but my life had changed. I'd stopped smoking. I'd given my life to Christ. I was now reading the Bible. I was now eating regularly. My health came back in death row. And from there, now I went to Shkurubi Maximum Prison and continued for another 10 years in real life. And miraculously again, I was also handpicked again and given pardon this time, but when there came a general amnesty pardon, and I was also chosen for that pardon as well. And now when I came out, the book was done by Ndakaitema Syria, a Christian lady who also wrote the full story of my life since I was a kid, even up to now, with the things I'm now doing. I started a trust now, working with youth called Young and Redeemed. And I'm working in Nema youth, also doing drug anti-campaign, awareness campaigns, and also working with about 800 kids in Mvurwi. Watrukshanda now counseling. We've also got a sports academy where we're doing sports for souls and sports and fitness against drug abuse. This is what I'm currently doing. I am now married, got a kid, and I'm now a Christian at Faith in God Ministries, where also I serve as a lay leader, Ikoko. And this is what I'm currently doing right now.
Redeemed and saved after such a tragic event. It goes to show whether it's a misfortune, a robbery, or murder in this case, there is life at the end of the tunnel. This is Against All Odds, where we talk about the stories that truly and really happen to each and every single one of us. It could be you next time. And if you have your story, come through and let's talk about it. Until next time, my name is Kim Sibanda, and this is Against All Odds.